It's still what's happening with Ruggedman, and it's been very interesting. And we've listened to, I call her Miss Arewa. She is the daughter of the late sergeant who was shot by his DPO. And then we've also listened to Lanre Adediwura, who went from a traffic violation, an alleged traffic violation, to a night in Kirikiri without court ordering that. So now this is police brutality against police, and then police brutality against citizens. So now I have with me to round this episode up. If you've talked about police brutality, if you talked about NSAS, the name Segalink has always popped up. It's always in there. He's an advocate. He's the founder for Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, and he's the convener of NSAS. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Segun Awosanya, Segalink, like you all know him on social media. Thank you very much, Mr. Sega.
Thank you very much for having me on your program.
It's an honor having you here. It's not every day we get Superman to come on our show.
No, as you can see, I'm just an ordinary Nigerian, just contributing my little quota, to society.
That's what Superman says, so it's okay. We'll just take that. So I had Miss Arewa in here. I know you already know about the story. A sergeant was killed, and then by the time they got to the morgue, it was one gunshot from what I heard, and then by the time they got to the morgue, he had like 15 either bullet holes or pellets on him, and then the DPO said it was fake soldiers that came to attack. And at the end of the day, investigation showed that it wasn't fake soldiers. It was actually the DPO who's under arrest right now, and the investigation is still on. And then the second person I had on was Lanre Adediwura, a video movie producer who was, well, how will I put this now? He stopped by the side of the road to help a friend out, pregnant lady and some other people. And then, of course, the usual police stopped him and said he was causing an obstruction with a bank, in front of a bank, which turned out to be too far from him, and they changed it again to he's causing traffic. And then how he escalated from going to court the same day and then landing in Kirikiri without a court order saying that. I know you know about that too, because I got in touch with you a lot over all these issues. So what do you say about all this?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on your program once again. I just want to say that most of the things we see, cases that are popular and cases that were actually sorted without going to social media, are all vestiges of the pain that we face from the military interregnum, which has left the police derelict over many years. And from what we're saying, we're just seeing the result of institutional gaps based on so many things that have left to fester, things that have left to ruin for many years, that is now taking a toll on the operational procedures of the police structure itself. And it is widening the gap between the police and the people. And that's one of the reasons why we have organizations like Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, whose duty is not just to stand as an NGO seeking grants from foreigners, but to stand as the conscience of the people, standing in the gap between the police and the people to ensure that there is institutional sanity, with their operation, and to hold them to account to the people. Now, when I look at all the cases when they come, like the traffic management, traffic situation leading into Kirikiri, you see that it begins to paint a picture of the derelict nature of the criminal justice system in Nigeria, and which is the police themselves, the prison service, which is just a mere warehouse within the criminal justice system, and also the judiciary. Now, it's because people don't always wait to go to court that they don't know how bad the judiciary is. It is also because people don't get to prison that they don't also understand the implication of being warehoused in a prison, where there are hotel rooms, where there are different kind of categories, and where there is a different civilization within the prison system. So it's a whole hub of mess, and it's like an albatross of our democracy. So we're looking at a situation where all the things that we are doing for the now, arresting police officers, dismissing them for action, going to court and all, these things are band-aids. They are like stop gaps, which doesn't change the system. What we're facing now is a culture. And what is a culture? Culture is the way of life of a people. This is something that have been on for so many years. The police system and structure, or as an institution, is actually older than Nigeria. It's over 70 years, and the act that's put together the police is still the act that we've been using since 1943. So because there have not been holistic reforms to restructure the operation and engagement of the police, there's been so much gap that is actually killing our citizens today. When you look at what is happening globally with police brutality, it is easier for us to link it together with what is happening in Nigeria and to suggest that, police brutality is a global thing. What is happening in Nigeria could be helped. It has nothing to do with racism. The people who are arresting you, oppressing you, harassing you, speak your language. They can even be from your hometown. But because of the camaraderie between the police themselves, because corruption within the police or impunity within the police is peer-induced and peer-reinforced, meaning that if a fellow police officer is committing an offense, the other ones will have to support him. They can't go against him. So because of the rot in the system, we need to do a holistic reform, which was what we've been pushing for. The police reform bill and the police trust fund bill. We are lucky and we are glad and grateful that the police trust fund bill has been passed and it's been made into law. But we still have a setback or a hiccup with the appointment of the board that will execute it. After going through the troubles of setting up legislation. And why do we go through legislation? We go through legislation because of what I just said now, that we cannot continue to change DPOs, change CPs. It doesn't change the structure. What we need to change is change the laws that mirror society, or repeal and replace laws that are already antiquated, and then ensure that these laws that we have now mirror society enough to deliver good policing to the people. But of course, when we get to the point where the law has been made, and then the people who are to execute the law are the very same politicians, are the very same people from the corrupt police structure who have now retired and now brought back to come and continue the rot, to come and continue damaging the system, that we're just maybe 2 steps back or 1 step forward and 52 steps backward. And that's one thing we're still engaging the president on. But on the police reform, we are the legislature, we're discussing this as we go along. But while we're doing that, while we're waiting for laws to change and things to work and for us to be able to bring the laws up to speed with the fast-tracked complexity of the society. If you notice, the society is not what it used to be 10 years ago, not what it used to be 20 years ago. Today, if a crime happens in Ojuelegba or Woro or something, I probably will hear it faster than the police will hear it about it. So, but before, people don't report these things. When a police officer who is supposed to protect your life and property robs you, who do you go to? You can't call the same police officer, which is why our police hub, who will now be arguing with you on the phone, trying to justify the actions of their fellow police officer. So because of that, we have SIAF, where people have been calling for the past, going to 4 years now, over 3 years now, and we've been there for the people, and the feedback has been wonderful. So the spate and the rate of incidents that we have, some may say that it has increased, but we don't have any empirical data to back that up, because we don't know what happened in the past, because there were no records as such. Yes. But we right now have been monitoring since we started NSAS, the NSAS movement, and from the data we're seeing, we can see that things are getting better. We know that we're not where we used to be, but we're not where we hope to be also. We're on our way, and things will get better as we proceed.
Okay, wow. I was going to say, don't mind me, I don't have anything to say, just keep talking. But now, so many cases. Let me go on how do you cope? How do you handle all the I see all the tweets, I see all the tags. How do you cope?
Well, one of the things that I would just say right here before the people is the grace of God is enough for us. We say we can be all things through Christ, do all things through Christ who strengthens us, and the grace of God is always enough for us. The grace is enough, and the arm of flesh will always fail. Sometimes I ask myself, how do you cope? Because over the years, because of my background and my little bit of military training, I cannot sleep beyond 3 o'clock, even if I get to sleep at all, and I cannot sleep before 12 o'clock. So whenever I find it easy to do an executive nap, I get it. But once it's 3 o'clock, I can't be found sleeping. And around that period, I get a lot of calls and attend to a lot of issues And I think it's beginning to give Nigeria that confidence that there's somebody who is right there who can, easily attend to me. And it has been happening, it's been working. I cannot tell you how many calls I take a day. They run into hundreds, if not thousands, and messages across platforms and the rest. But we're glad. And it's not just me. You are also helping out a great deal. In fact, most of these cases, you get to help me find the people, the number to call and the rest. Because when you're dealing with a case, if you don't have the person who, the victims themselves, or if you don't have their number, their contact, you will not talk to them and all, you can't really do much. You'll be crying more than the bereaved. There are cases where we've raised lawyers from different places, flown them into planes to families, and the families were telling us, well, they shot our family member, he may not be able to work again, the CP has been here, they've offered us some money, and we want to take it as an act of God. And you are telling them that, look, the reason why a widow in California we cry about our lost son is not because anything that we do will bring out the son, to bring back that son or that child. She's doing that to ensure that everybody understands what happened to her son and definitely must not fall victim of that another time. So the advocacy will continue to run to stop that from happening again. But our people don't really believe in that empathy. They don't have that empathy. They don't believe in advocacy enough to say, I am campaigning because something has happened to me and I don't want it to happen to everybody else. In a country where we have an ideology of I better pass my neighbor. So everybody is just thinking of themselves and themselves alone. And a society that does not come together to agree on certain things cannot thrive, which is why we talk about political will. What is political will? People coming together and speaking in one voice to combat something. And that's what we did wonderfully with the NSAS campaign. Because of our collective voice, because of the collaboration of organizations, and because of the visionary leadership, where we spoke about political will, which is the ability of the populace to speak in one voice, for us to come together, to organize, to pull our resources together, to galvanize the people enough to raise transformational leaders and enlightened followers who are difficult to rule, impossible to enslave, and easy to govern. So when we put all these things together, the people will now fundamentally understand the meaning of power belonging to the people. And that's exactly the leadership example that we're giving them. In the past, our advocates, or I'll call them activists, in the past, only come out to establish their notoriety for the eye that they have for power. And once they have been popular, they go about their business, print posters, and run for political office, thinking that change can actually come from them when they are in political office. But we have learned a lot from that. We have seen how much that theory has been flawed globally. And then we are beginning to say, look, listen, Dr. Martin Luther King ran a lot of advocacy based on peace and all, and he never really contested for anything at all. And he was able to achieve his dreams, that a day will come when the blacks and the whites will live together and all. Even though racism had fundamentally been legislatively curbed, the culture is still there, and they're trying every day to do things, to ensure that there are fundamental laws that abolishes it completely. And we're doing the same here. The only difference between that environment and here is because is that we don't have as strong an institution as they have in the United States. Our institutions are weak. They are balkanized. In other words, they are filled with or proliferated with ethnic brigades and people who are not there for service. They are there to satisfy themselves and also to live up to the expectation of their beneficiaries. So that's one of the things that we're doing enough to create enough political will to hold government to account and ensure that the people get the best they want, from government and also from the criminal justice system.
With all this, okay, now let me ask, just in brief, can you tell us about the police reform bill in brief?
Okay.
Yes.
What we're looking at, if you look at let's just glossing over the police reform bill, is simply an instrument that democratizes the police itself. Okay. The way the police is structured right now, it is still structured like they're protecting the rulership from the ruled. In other words, they are there for the 1%. And I'll give you an illustration. We have over 450,000 police officers in Nigeria. 150,000 or more of them are following VIPs, while the rest are left in the society to try as much as possible to keep the peace. And keeping the peace in that respect, according to the Police Act of 1943, is simply to continue to do what the colonial masters have done. In other words, oppress the people, make them fear you, and then, protect the rich and the connected. And so that's one of the things that the law is going to undo, and with that, we're going to have a police system that is actually involving the community, involving the people, involving civil society organization, involved in the disciplining of the police, in the promotion of the police, in the posting of the police and the rest, and also the spirit of community policing. When you look at policing in Nigeria, you only see police officers when they are trying to when they prosecute a crime. Okay, every time a police confronts you, you probably must have been a suspect in a crime, and it should not be. We must have other engagements that are not non-combative, engagements that tends to show police officers as your friend indeed. You see them in schools teaching students civics. You see them in schools talking about police and you. You see them in institutions taking courses. You see them in the marketplace counseling people.
You think that can happen in Nigeria?
It can happen in Nigeria with proper orientation and proper strategy. We can actually do that, and that's one of the things that the law will enable us to do. We complain that police divisions don't have money, they can't fuel their car, they can't. That's why we have a police trust fund. With the trust fund, with a particular percentage of money from whatever business Nigeria is doing from different sectors going into that particular account, we can use it within the next 5 years. Though we have lost a year within the year of that, the life of that particular bill. We have 4 more years to execute the plan of that particular bill, to be able to make police operational, grant them the operational independence that they require to be able to do things instead of waiting for orders. Police officers see Fulani headsmen on the road, they want to shoot them, but they are afraid of stepping on ethnic toes. So because of that, they call their leader, please, so these people who have caught them, or what do we do? They say, let me call my Oga, let me call the Oga at the top. Before they get there, whatever, those people will not wait for you. They are gone or kill the police officers anyway. So he begins to see that it looks as if they have 2 different rules, in the same country, where somebody who is unarmed in Nigeria is shot down, on the streets, an innocent youth with a laptop. You see somebody with AK-47 who is let go after killing people.
And you have to wait till you get an order from like 5 people before
you understand? So it's become
action.
So that police reform bill begins to restructure the way the police is, while we await the total restructuring of Nigeria so that we can have the state police that most people have been clamoring for. The way Nigeria is structured, state police cannot function.
Why'd you say that?
It can't function because right now our democracy, number 1, is not perfect. Number 2, look at an average state governor like a Kogi governor now. Give him police to his hand, he will never leave that office. He will remain there. These are people who, when their commissioners rape people or commit crimes, they will tell you that the police itself, the hierarchy, should write them before they can release a criminal within the system, to police for investigation. So these are some of the things that we see that should not be within a civilization. Even in the jungle, there's no how the lion will summon an animal that the animal would not be shivering. But in a case where every system is balkanized, the police officers, they are afraid of the people that got them to their position, because a simple sergeant who has a brother in Nassau Rock can fire the CP. So that's the kind of structure that we have. So police officers are very, very careful about their utterances and the way they go about things, which is why we, as Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, we are strengthening the structures of our institution. And in cases where police cannot make noise on, we will be able to make noise on and focus on that to make sure that whatever we do works for them as well.
Okay. There's so much we need to learn. There's so much we need to do. So now, for the average Nigerian on the street, what do they need to do when they encounter the rogue police officers? Not the normal police who are respectful, but the rogue police officers. What do they need to do?
Okay. First of all, you may not be able to. There's no rogue written on the face of most police officers.
You will not know.
It is based on the encounter and engagement that you begin to know this is a rogue. Any police officer who tells you to hand over your phone is a rogue police officer. He has just identified himself, because there is no rule in any book that demands that you surrender your phone to any police officer. Now, there are also some gray areas. People always say that, for example, there was a time somebody came to me that she did something, and she sent a private picture to a guy that she's in love with and whatever, and then she found it on the commercial which somebody was using it to blackmail her. Under normal circumstances, if it is evident that this is the only person that you sent this thing to, you are telling the person, you owe me a duty of care automatically. I don't see where it is not part of the law, but ethically and morally, it is wrong for somebody to trust you with something that is personal and private to them, for it to now become a tool or a weapon for blackmail much later. And in order to protect our society and our women in society, there certainly must be things that we can use in the law, instrument of law, to ensure that kind of things stop. Cyber Bullying Act is actually there, and then most of it is, and the provision of it is very clear. So in such a case, if you say arrest the individual, the suspect, the prime suspect in that particular case, and get the person detained. People will see it as, you are telling them to go and abuse somebody based on suspicion. Why do you arrest people in the first instance? It is based on suspicion. And based on not just suspicion of I'm standing on the road, I am hungry, I don't know what to do because I have a gun and I'm not suspecting everybody. That is not what we're saying. There is already an investigation on ground in this particular case. Yes. And because of that, all material components or people to that case, material beings within that system must be brought for questioning. It's just questioning, nothing on it. And besides, because of what we stand for, no police officer or no police investigation will violate your right. I give you another example. Somebody bought a stolen phone, or you are going home at night, God forbid, and they robbed you, they took your phone, took your jewelries and the rest. You reported it at the police station. The next day they tracked the phone and they traced it to one young boy. And then they took the young boy, they arrested the boy and took him in. They've not abused his right or anything. They're saying, where did you get this phone from? And he said he bought it from somebody. Can you take us to where you bought it so that they can bring in everybody connected to the phone? You cannot go on social media and be saying, he's a 13-year-old boy, he's a 17-year-old boy. This is police brutality. It is not. Police have not been robbed of the right to arrest citizens under credible suspicion. You understand? That's based on an ongoing investigation. There are two different things. Other than what we are condemning is the indiscriminate arrest of people. They don't even call it arrest, raid of people. In other words, police DPO is broke this weekend. His daughter has just gave birth to a girl and they want to celebrate it. They want to do wolima for a child, or they want to do one thing or the other, and they don't have money. So because of that, they felt, those computer village boys, let's go and raid them. Maybe something will come out. And then they go out, every living thing, including goats and rats, on the street. As at that time, they pack them into bullion, whatever they call that van. The Black Maria, and then they drive them to the stations to go and keep them there. And they ask their families to start coming to pay money. That is kidnapping. That has nothing to do with law. So these are some of the things that we're trying to let people know, that once you are faced with that kind of situation, don't argue with them and all. Just begin to take notes from that moment. Know the officers, recognize them by face, know their names. If they give you opportunity to call, please call us. If you don't get through, if the line is busy, send a text message or send a tweet. Tweets are even faster. Send a tweet. If it is in Lagos, you know you're in good hands because it's going to be faster. But there had never been any case of police brutality that we don't resolve within 24 hours. Thanks to Ruggedman, thanks to Citizens Gavel, thanks to all our partners and all our collaborators who have been ensuring that the system does not fail and that we protect the youth in our society and our women.
Okay, so for people who would want to get in touch with you and SIAF, how would they do this?
I think the number will be on this screen. You know, the numbers that they call, that number that is in black market already, I'll put it on the screen on your show, especially for Ruggedman. That once it's there, send me a message on that, on that, or a WhatsApp message, which is faster, which can take pictures and all, and you will get a response from us, and it will be positive, and you'll be able to get out of trouble. But once you find yourself culpable of something, or you are guilty of something, don't deem yourself guilty. Just report first. You get an advisory on what you can do from then on. And in as much as you did not kill any human being, we'll find a way around that. And it's free. We don't charge anything. We have never charged. We are not looking for money. We are not looking for grants. We are not asking you for anything other than for you to report. If you see something, say something. Report any crime of police officers. Our organization is policing the police, because we are closing a particular gap that has been there for over 70 years. Because we don't want our children to inherit this madness.
Issue. I was going to say any word of advice to the people, but I think you already just summarized it right now. So I would like to say a big thank you to you, Segalink, for coming on What's Happening with Ruggedman, and I hope everybody out there that's watched and listened, you've learned a thing or two about you and the police, and in fact, life generally. So until I come your way again, this is still Ruggedman, Ruggedi Baba. And what is it still about? It's still about what's happening with Ruggedman.